SemeAd Interview, uma conversa com quem forma opinião na academia.
Ok, amigos, nós agora vamos começar uma entrevista interessantíssima com um dos nossos keynote speakers, o professor James McGlothlin. Dear Professor James.
Olá.
Olá, good morning or good, I suppose good morning. I don't know exactly where you are, Professor.
Bom dia.
Bom dia. So where you are now? Where you're based now?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the time here is 9 a.m.
Okay, so I hope it's a convenient time for you to take some minutes and talk with us. So first of all, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be a keynote speaker at SemeAd, as well as for this brief interview. So let's say, is this your first time in Brazil, Professor?
No, I've been there a couple of times. I absolutely love Brazil, the Brazilians, and everything about their culture. And if you go to any place in the world and you hear a loud noise somewhere, maybe in a bar or in a dance hall, you find that noise, and that noise usually is with Brazilians having the time of their life. So absolutely love Brazil and the Brazilian culture and its people.
Fantastic. Thanks for your lovely words. And well, we are in this pioneer, let me say, experience with this, virtual conference. Our conference is a very traditional one, and this is the first time it is an online conference, due to the pandemic, of course. And here we are at what we call the SemeAd TV. Okay, so we are broadcasting this transmission not only to our congressman, but also to an open YouTube transmission to anyone in the academy. And this time, our SemeAd edition is crowd of people. We have almost 2,000 people in the conference, and I don't know exactly how many people is watching us, because part of these people is watching at our online platform and part is watching outside of the platform. So you are at Purdue University, don't you, Professor? And please give us a brief. What's going to be your conference later on, so people here can get an idea what you're going to talk.
It's a great question, and it's almost like asking a watchmaker the time of day. He's going to have to tell you how a watch works, before you get into the time of day. But I'll keep it very brief for this interview. I'm going to cover three areas, but it's the thrust of it is really the surge of the COVID-19 in the United States as it's being impacted by some policies that have been promoted or not promoted by our current president in terms of the spread of COVID-19, where I'll talk about respirators, masks that are worn, and proper mask properly worn will be one area that I'll talk about. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the epidemiology between wearing a surgical mask, healthcare people wearing surgical masks, and the surgical N95s, which is basically the mask that's supposed to give you 10 times more protection than a surgical mask. And I'll talk really about the differences in what the epidemiology presents as clinical efficacy, what they're seeing in the clinics in terms of protection factors versus what we've seen in the laboratories between the two. But more important, I'm going to talk about basically many healthcare people becoming infected with COVID-19 in the wearing of respirators, and what are the attributes that are causing these infections when they're supposed to be protected. And most of that will be centered on the human factors side of things. For example, irritation of the mask, where they take it on and off, sweat inside the mask, carbon dioxide increases, and so on. So I'll really talk about what the masks are designed to do versus the comfort aspects of the mask and why people are getting infected. And if you look at the big surge that will continue to increase in the United States, especially after tomorrow, which is our Thanksgiving, it's going to increase dramatically. And the limitation is really going to be not only in hospitals in terms of beds and ventilators, but healthcare personnel being able to take care of those coming into the hospital, and the problem of enough of those being available and not being sick as a result of poor respiratory protection.
Well, it's a very sensitive topic, and let me say, in a very appropriate moment. We are really, as you said, seeing what can be a second wave in the pandemic, what happened in Europe, and what seems to be going on in US. And here in Brazil, we are not sure if we are getting a new wave, but it seems to be, because we are like 10 days with a very high increase in the cases of identification and at COVID-19. So it's certainly a very, let me say, interesting and important talk you are going to have, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate very much your presentation. So would you like to add some comments, or would you like to ask something that we can give you further information, Professor James?
Well, I have looked at your numbers, your statistics, and you've done a reasonably good job at reducing the number of fatalities associated with COVID-19 in the past couple of months. You had your major problems during your winter down there, which is our summertime, and you seem to have been able to get over that much better than we have. And we're going into our winter, and things are going to get much worse. As you may already know, we have over 12 million cases of COVID-19. Over 260,000 people have died, and we're now having 2,000 deaths per day. Compare that to your country. You have 6 million cases and 170,000 deaths. But those numbers tend to be going down, which indicates that even though your cases may go up, at least from my view, you've learned, and you're now able to manage people when they come to the hospital so that they don't die, which is a good thing. And just I would always say to the Brazilian people to hang in there. Help is on the way with the vaccines. But we're not out of the wilderness yet. We're about 6 months away for, I think, the general population to be vaccinated. And I really hope they take this very seriously, because in the United States, we have a division between those that are worried about the vaccine causing long-term problems and those that will help. And with the new president coming in, we're hoping that the national policy will be put in place to educate everybody about the benefits of vaccination, so they can get past this very dark period that'll carry us probably halfway through 2021. In Brazil, I think people understand what needs to be done, and they're robust, they're very smart, and they will do the right thing, and the vaccines will be there. You have some challenges. I think China is sending many of their vaccines and so on, and I know the president of Brazil has a little bit of pushback on that. But let's hope that all the testing has been done, and so that when the vaccines are administered, that they do what they're supposed to do with no adverse effects.
Yeah, here we unfortunately we are seeing some, let's say, some political disputes regarding this issue that's completely a technical issue. So it's a mess. What we have is, for instance, our president, the federal government has signed an agreement with the vaccine by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford. On the other hand, there are other initiatives here For instance, in the state of São Paulo, as we are based, the Instituto Butantan, that belongs to the state government, is developing a vaccine with a Chinese company and developing the tests here. But these two political guys, the president and the governor, they are not allied. So instead of working together to help the people, okay, we see sometimes we can't understand properly what they are doing. Maybe I'm not so smart to understand what they have in mind. Personally, I hope that with the election of the new President Biden, okay, you can do, let me say, you can do better, US can do better. In the next challenge, that's going to be the logistics of the vaccine. So the vaccine, let me say, millions of people in a very short time, certainly this in a wide country as is US, so we have some great challenge ahead. So, thank you very much, Professor James, for accepting our invitation to be at SemeAd. Okay, people certainly is anxious to watch your presentation, your speech, and thank you also for this interview, Professor.
It's my honor to be here, and thank you so much for including me in your great show and to be available and to present what I know to the wonderful people of Brazil and your absolutely amazing country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you very
Ciao.
much.